Hello, everyone. My name is Monique Rebel. I'm an artist and I also am a spiritual teacher and an author of this book, Transcendence Calling, the Power of Kundalini Rising and Spiritual Enlightenment. I would like to share with you some information that I hope you will find really valuable. We will be talking about three concepts: the concept of belief, faith, and certainty. Before we get to that, for anyone who is not familiar with what I'm teaching, let me go over it quickly so you have the basics of the system. This is the subtle body system, and I know that these days more and more people are familiar with chakras, and also more and more people are familiar with Kundalini energy. This system is called subtle body, and it consists of Kundalini energy, which I painted in as a rainbow tube of light, which is what appeared to me during my own experience of Kundalini rising several years ago. On the base of that experience, I wrote my book, and also from that experience started my time of teaching, explaining, all based on what I was able to observe during the time when my consciousness was traveling through the chakras. At that time, when it happened, it was a long time ago, in 1992. Not that many people knew about Kundalini. I have heard about chakras, but I didn't believe in them. I didn't know the word Kundalini. So my whole experience was completely new to me. I had no way to relate it to anything that was from the external knowledge. So during my experience, I was able to perceive and experience how my consciousness was traveling through dimensions, worlds, different realms. And what was really characteristic was that each realm, each world revealed itself subsequently, and there was a hierarchy in there. And so, as we know, we see the seven chakras, and we see that each of them is of different color, and as we learn about them as energy centers, energy vortexes, each of them is responsible for different aspect of our life, different organs in the body. Each vibrates on a different frequency, and so on. The way I experienced chakras was as dimensions of perception. And the hierarchy was such that from the lower ones, you can't see up. But once your consciousness opens up, the Kundalini energy is the individual unit of consciousness. once it opens up each chakra and say finds itself already here, then we can see all of these dimensions within each other. So from the first dimension, which is material, if we just take a human being as something that is just a material being, alive, but just body, without emotions, without mind, without any of the attributes of the upper dimensions, that being is going to be just existing without any knowledge of it and without any understanding of what's going on and without emotions. So once the emotion is added to it, which is the second chakra, this is already what we are experiencing in our lives. We are reacting emotionally to our circumstances, to our material reality around us. We are also reacting emotionally to what our mind is, as the mind is the third chakra and it's full of thoughts. It's full of thoughts. It's full of mental structures and concepts that we carry with us throughout our lives. These three dimensions create what is ego. The upper dimensions of heart, which is the universal love, of connection and sound, which is the fifth chakra, of intuition and vision, this is the third eye, the sixth chakra, and of seventh chakra, which I call pure intellect. I distinguish between the mind and pure intellect. I know that this definition is not necessarily what we would read in definition about intellect, but for the sake of understanding and clarity, I do include in my book. I include a little description of definitions of certain words, and beliefs and faith are in there too. So during my experience, I was able to travel through all of these dimensions. The first one and the second one are not as were not as clearly different, because normally in life we are a fusion of those dimensions. We are a fusion of what chakras, we can call them dimensions of perception, but even better is to call them gates to the dimensions of perception. So our energy vortexes open us up to a certain vibration, and that vibration is uniting us with that kind of perception: material perception, emotional perception, mental perception, perception of love, perception of contact, communication, exchange of energy, perception of vision and intuition, intuitive thinking, intuitive understanding of concepts, and a lot of things are happening here when our consciousness goes through that chakra. So this is, in short, what the Kundalini rising is. It can happen to anyone. Each of us has the subtle body system. Each of us has, for sure, these three dimensions, these three chakras developed because, and maybe not each of us, but probably 99% of people will feel each of these dimensions very well, because these three are relating to survival, to ability to live optimally, to the ego is guiding us through life, through that is that external, the external world, how to deal with it. This is what happens with these three chakras. The thing is that humanity is so focused on these three that we forget about those incredibly rich dimensions that some of us have access to, but most of us don't really clearly understand the fact that consciousness is multidimensional, and we are multidimensional beings that could use the magical, incredible power of these upper dimensions in order to live much better life. So, let's talk about beliefs. What are beliefs? Well, beliefs can be so varied. And the simplest one that we can all relate to is believing in Santa Claus, right? I don't know a kid who didn't believe in Santa Claus. And as we grow up, as we are probably maybe 10 or 11 years old, we already stop believing in Santa Claus, or maybe even earlier. It depends. So these are beliefs. Beliefs. All of the beliefs are conditional. Even if they're very strong, they're still conditional. And they don't have, even if we think that it's for sure right, it's still a belief. And what they are based on, they're based on these three dimensions. Even if the creation of the belief belongs to maybe fifth or sixth or fourth chakra, because the idea comes from there. Once we establish a belief, that belief is conditional upon our mental approach to it, our understanding of it, and our emotion towards it. So, throughout our lives, we are conditioned to accept or not accept certain beliefs. And as we know, some of the beliefs are good for us, but many of them aren't. And we also know that it's kind of hard to get rid of them if they don't work for us. So I wanted to give you a little tip on how to deal with beliefs that may not be beneficial. And this is the same system that I use working on getting rid of negative emotions that we don't want to feel. The way I teach is through separating the energy of each chakras in order to work on a particular one. So if there is a belief that you may have from your childhood, like, you know, I did have beliefs from my childhood and youth that were very harmful to me, and I know that for sure that I'm not the only one who grew up with beliefs that were stifling my development. So in order to, for example, let's take a belief from my life, and you can pick something from your life if you can create a parallel here. I was told that I was good for nothing, and I was told quite often that I was good for nothing. And so, you know, it doesn't make much sense, that whole sentence. But because I heard it a lot and I was a kid, it kind of stuck in my mind. And because it was told to me by an authority, someone that I believed in, I had no choice but to accept what that person was telling me, because it was my caregiver. I believed that I really was probably good for nothing, so why to try? And so on. There are many beliefs that we accept as true, and throughout our lives we keep on using them, and they're not always helpful. So in order to get rid of a belief like that, we have to first separate the emotion that is connected with it, separate that emotion that we feel from the meaning of it, from the story, from the context, from the sentence, or from the event, whatever it was that created that belief. And like with all steps of getting rid of negative emotion, we first feel what that belief is. What is that belief giving us? What kind of emotion it's creating? For me, the belief that I held that I was good for nothing was very depressing, because I just thought that there is nothing I could do, because whatever I would do would not bring any good results. So accepting that emotion as the real thing that's an obstacle for us is the first thing first step on the path that I call the practice of emotions and emptiness. By seeing through the emotion, we are able to, in the next step out of it and remain in the state of emotional neutrality. This whole process is has 7 steps, and if you are interested in exact step-by-step process, let me know. I teach that in most of my programs that I teach, and I'm going to include that. It's going to be on my on the homepage. That I'm going to create a little video of emotions and emptiness practice, because once we are able to separate emotion from the story, we can step out of that emotion, and we can allow that second chakra to stop being congested with that emotion, because this is what stops our kundalini, which is normally residing at the bottom of the spine, and most of us don't even know about its existence. But this is our consciousness. This is our individual unit of consciousness. And that individual unit of consciousness should have freedom to travel up and circulate through all of the chakras, so we don't get stuck on emotions. And then the second big obstacle is the mind. Beliefs are a combination of the second and third chakra. That's where their power is in here. It's the external world that makes us believe in certain things. Somebody said something first, or a couple experiences that were not very good, and now we believe that that's the way things always are. And the same with positive beliefs. Of course, there are positive beliefs, and we just want to believe in them because that way we feel better. So that's about beliefs. Faith comes from the heart. All these words, these are concepts that have to do with the fourth dimension of love. So as much as beliefs are conditional and depend on circumstances, situation, on our history, maybe on history of our ancestors, because religious beliefs, right? They can be so different, but still we believe in them just because we grew up in that kind of environment. Not to say it's good or bad, it's just, these are just beliefs. Faith is a very different concept than a belief. And I don't know if you can feel it, but faith vibrates with the dimension of love. And if instead of a belief, we will look at our stance, position as faith, then a completely different different feeling comes up. With faith, we feel more responsible. This is our faith, right? We are holding on to something that seems really true. Belief can be, even strongest beliefs can be destroyed. A true faith does not get destroyed. And the same with love, the same with many, many concepts that come from this dimension. Let's see here. Compassion, home, graciousness, happiness, loving, dependability, sacredness, honor, sacrifice. There are many, many concepts that are in that realm of universal love, something that the greatest spiritual teachers were teaching about. And we're teaching love because it is a dimension. It exists. It never goes away. Just like faith, once you have faith in your heart, you feel stronger. You may feel stronger because of beliefs too, of course. But from the viewpoint of our multidimensional consciousness, faith is more real than beliefs. Now let's talk about certainty. We often attach certainty to our beliefs. And it's understandable because that's how these three dimensions, they're so intertwined, and there are so many different reasons why we would believe in something and why we would not believe in something else, that we often attach certainty to those beliefs. But looking from the viewpoint of the seventh chakra, and after going through all of these dimensions, especially here in the sixth chakra, when our consciousness reaches here, we fully realize that this is just an illusion, that the ego, with those three dimensions of material, emotional, and mental, are illusions. It is not easy to explain that, even though I try sometimes. But what is possible is to find yourself in those different worlds, the world of beliefs and now the world of faith. And soon the world of certainty, which is still very different to beliefs and faith. The world of certainty is what all spiritual masters present to us. Some quotes from spiritual teachers, and I hope you forgive me and you accept the fact that I also included a few quotes from my book, Transcendence Calling. In my view, they also belong to the seventh chakra, the seventh dimension of perception, which is something that we don't learn about in school much. We just we just don't learn about the system. Maybe we learn about chakras when we practice yoga and when we are really interested in Hinduism and learn about different practices leading to spiritual enlightenment, because that's what this whole system presents. It presents the travel of Kundalini energy of our individual unit of consciousness, opening all of the chakras and exiting through the top chakra, the crown chakra. And this crown chakra will open when the seventh dimension, like all of the dimensions, they're always there. They're always there. It's just our ability to reach them, our ability to access them, depends on the development of each chakra. We easily access the material one. We easily access usually the emotional one. We react emotionally as much as we can. And also we access the mental one to our abilities. We always have thoughts going, so that one works all the time. And they work too much. They're not trained. That's why we are experiencing so many emotions and so many thoughts that it's often very confusing. And the upper ones are much less developed and cultivated. Cultivation of the seventh chakra is very important, because without it, Kundalini is not going to be able to break through. It will break through if that chakra is prepared. And to prepare that chakra, it's just a matter of contemplation, observation, witnessing. It's something that we are fortunately more and more aware about because of practicing meditation and practicing yoga as well, and other exercises that are there for focusing of the mind. So once this mind calms down and stops getting all these thoughts out, once it calms down, then we can easier access the seventh chakra. We can easier cultivate the seventh chakra and spend time just observing without a purpose of using that knowledge. This is always goal oriented. The third dimension is all about thoughts that are leading us to a result. The seventh chakra is about observing, making conclusions, but not in order to do something with them, not in order to employ them in something. These conclusions, these quotes, the thoughts that were put in sentences are not about something that's from this dimension. These quotes are bringing to us certainty. That certainty is not coming from from this reality. These are deep spiritual truths that spiritual teachers were able to discover, or they realized them through cultivation of the seventh chakra. Basically, this is what I wanted to share with you this evening, how each of these words, how beliefs are not the same as faith, and how certainty, the true certainty, is a deep spiritual truth and not necessarily something that has to do with our mundane reality, that has to do with maybe truth and certainty and beliefs and faith in this realm of external world. These concepts are short-lived. They're conditional. They're conditioned. They don't have the depth that really sustains us. The truths that are coming from the seventh dimension are certain. They're certainties. Okay, let me read one maybe. Joseph Campbell said, all the gods, all the heavens, all the hells are within you. So this is not something that you can doubt. From the viewpoint of Joseph Campbell, this is absolute certainty. And this is how the seventh chakra works. The conclusions that come from contemplation, from observation, from witnessing, they bring truths that we can always rely on, always. While beliefs, yes and no, maybe, and so on. Faith, always. So the upper chakras are our true source of wisdom, of magic, of beauty, of all that's simply incredible about life and about us, because we are all that. If you are interested in learning more, if you would like to talk with me about whatever are your concerns that relate to spiritual growth, or maybe simply dealing with life, dealing with issues that seem very difficult. I know, because I had my experience at the time when I was going to commit suicide. After very many hard years, many struggles, I got very depressed and I was suicidal, and I was going to commit suicide for sure when I had that experience. That experience changed my life completely, and I have that deep, deep happiness, something that is going to, it's just there. It's just there. It's not that I'm not emotional, because I am. It's not that things don't bother me, because they do. But because of that experience and what it taught me and the wealth of knowledge that I received during that experience, I overcame terrible depression, and I'm here to help anyone who would like to do better. I believe, yes, I do have beliefs. I believe that each of us can be still happier. Even if you're very happy, you can still be happier. You can do better. We all can do better. And what's really most important to me is that each of us is the creator of our reality in truth. We're all creators of what is. And we can create a better world for ourselves and for all of life. And I'm here to help as much as I can. Check out my website, moniquerebel.com. And if you're not sure, if you would like to pick some kind of programs, if you would like to come for a session, we're doing it on Zoom right now. If you're not sure, let's do a consultation. It's also on Zoom. Half an hour, 45 minutes, we can talk about what would be the best for you, how I could help you to realize your goals, to get rid of stuff that you don't want anymore in your life. And if you are a healer, a teacher yourself, if you would like to learn about the system of our multidimensional consciousness, just contact me. Okay, thank you very much. All the best to you. Take care.